And that's the setup when we get to this introit from the second week in Advent. We're brought low, we're smacked down, we're cowering under the pews, hiding from things. But then, when out of the dust your speech will whisper, suddenly, your salvation will come, your rescue will come. Entrance song for the second Sunday in Advent. Daughter of Zion, behold thy salvation cometh. The Lord shall cause his glorious voice to be heard, and ye shall have gladness of heart. Give ear, O shepherd of Israel, thou that leadest Joseph like a flock. At the beginning of this, we have to imagine people whipped down, defeated, giving up. What's the point? And we'll talk a little bit more in a second about that, and someone says, hey guys, look, here comes the cavalry. So to understand the song and why they pick these verses, it's like we're picking lines that everybody knows. My name is Inigo Montoya. We know the context in which you killed my father, prepare to die, will follow. It's a famous passage, and it calls to mind in the ears of its hearers 2,800 years ago, 2,500 years ago, the rest of the context. Daughter of Zion, behold, your salvation cometh. And in Isaiah 28-30, it's the Assyrians are coming. And what are we going to do? We can't fight them ourselves. They're too strong for us. So what do? Smart money says, go to Egypt. Now we might get a little mixed up because isn't Egypt the enemy? And sometimes we think like David and Moses went to lunch together, like it's all happening at the same time. Keep in mind, David and Moses are about as far apart as us and Shakespeare. Isaiah and Moses are about almost as far apart as us and King Arthur. I mean, this is a long distance of time that has happened. So, though Egypt was the enemy 800 years earlier, that's not what the issue is anymore. And so, even if they are the enemy, if you're the little guy scrunched in between Assyria and Egypt, when Egypt's bugging you, you go to Assyria for help. When Assyria's bugging you, you go to Egypt for help. So what did Israel do? They went to Egypt for help, and God said, what are you doing? Here am I. You need help? Hello? What about checking with me? And there's a long diatribe against Israel for going to Egypt for help. Now, that's just common sense. That's just rational. That's just reasonable. Of course, what else would they do but go to Egypt? It's like God's getting mad at them for sharpening their swords or for relying on horses to rescue them. Actually, it says in another psalm, a horse is a vain hope for deliverance. Come to me. I'm God. I'm the one that can take you. But so they spend time and we hear angry God, and we tend to assume he's talking about like moral failings, like you were drinking too much and staying out past your curfew. But what God is concerned with is that they didn't go to him for help. In and of itself, it's one thing, but it's a symptom of what their relationship with him has become. He says, your priests are drunk with wine, and all the message, everything I've given you has become do and do, rule on rule, a little here, a little there. And to our ears, a lot of us, we hear about the Levitical laws, and yes, that's exactly how it sounds to a lot of us. Certainly, a lot of people turn away from Christianity or Judaism precisely because that's what it sounds like. And God is, through Isaiah in this moment, saying that was never the point, guys. We think of the law, and we Christians think of the gospel as a covenant with death, a deal. We've made a contract with death. We get to, I believe, therefore I'm good. There's no. But that covenant is annulled. And God will do his strange work, his alien task. What a concept, his strange work. We think of God as familiar and comfortable, but salvation that's going to happen through that incarnation is strange, it's weird, it's alien. It doesn't fit into our neat categories. We create neat categories and we try to make it fit, but it's a little too bizarre. So I think Isaiah is saying, because you've relied on this covenant with death, it's like a dog that's fastened on to the dog across the street or the rabbit, and you don't want him to attack the dog across the street or the rabbit, and you got to somehow get his attention, and you can't do it, and you have to yank on the chain maybe or something to snap him out of it. And so God's going to let the Assyrians snap him out of it. Look, the point isn't whether the Assyrians come or the Egyptians come. That's not the point. The point is, are you talking with me? So they're going to get smacked and brought low. You'll speak from the ground. Your voice will mumble out of the dust. It will come ghost-like from the ground. So that's not a good prognosis. And that's the setup when we get to this introit from the second week in Advent. We're brought low. We're smacked down. We're cowering under the pews, hiding from things. But then, when out of the dust your speech will whisper, suddenly, your salvation will come, your rescue will come. In fact, those who oppress you will be made into the dust. Right now, he says, for you, all this vision, it's like a word sealed in a scroll. It doesn't do you any good. Scroll, but we'd use an envelope or a FedEx package. Everything there is to know about me is like something inside a FedEx package, and you can't open it. It's sealed in a big envelope, in a big box. That's what it is. But the time is coming, and once more I'll astound this people with wonder on wonder. The wisdom of the wise will perish, and the intelligence of the intelligent will come to an end. But the deaf are going to hear, and the blind are going to see, and that scroll will be opened, and that FedEx package will be opened, and who God is will be revealed to the people, to the people, to the people, to the people, through God's voice. He will cause his glorious voice to be heard. So that instead of do and rule on rule, a little here, a little there, jump, blump, 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 instead of priests, they tell the priests, they tell the priests not to see any visions, and they tell the prophets, speak to us smooth things. I love that line. Speak to us smooth things. Stop confronting us with the Holy One of Israel, and we oblige. We give people concepts. We give people philosophical concepts. We give people ideas about God. And that becomes what we call the gospel. A set of ideas that we can lay out on paper. There's nothing wrong with the philosophical ideals in and of themselves, of course. But they come to replace the reality of the strange and alien God that's behind it. This is not a good plan. But he'll answer. The shepherd of Israel will lead us. He'll cause his glorious voice to be heard, and you should be glad in heart. It says, wherever you turn, you'll hear a voice behind you saying, this is the way, walk in it. That's the gospel. Not, I'm going to send the Bible so you don't have to know me. Not, I'm going to send Egypt. Not, I'm going to save you from the Assyrians only. Not just, I'm going to save you from death. Not, I'm going to come up with a plan and a contract, and if you sign on the dotted line, I won't be able to wiggle out of it, and I'll have to take you into heaven. That's not it. There's going to be a voice saying, this is the path. This is the road. This is the route you should take. I used last week, I said, Siri. God will be your Siri. And maybe instead of give ear, O shepherd of Israel, we don't deal with shepherds. If it said, listen to me, Siri. Here's where am I supposed to go? Show me thy ways, teach me thy paths. Advent, then, is about, yes, it's about going to heaven when we die. Absolutely, it's about that. We go to heaven when we die because that's the path we should walk on. That's the road we should take. That's the direction. And the voice behind us says, turn this way, a little more to the right, a little more that way. It's like nudging, scrunching, tweaking, guiding. His glorious voice will be behind us saying, this is the way from today and from now on.
Thou hast prevailed, thy part in